And you have to be really careful when you introduce bunnies to each other to make sure it doesn't go wrong.
Yeah.
They need space.
Oh no. So they stopped being vegan.
Hello, and welcome to episode 153 of Rhythm Encounter, the RPG fan music podcast. I am your host, Mike Salbato, and today we are building an RPG. And despite how many indie devs have done that by themselves, I know that's a tall order, so I'm not doing it alone. With me today is Hilary.
Hello.
And Gio.
Hello.
And Lucas.
Hello.
Hello. Well, I'm glad you're all here again. For the uninitiated, about a year ago, episode 126, we did this really fun thing where we built our own RPG musically. So we had 8 categories, and everyone brought on a song that was in that category from another game. So our town theme for this game would be the town theme from something else, and we just threw it all in a pot and saw what came out. And it was so successful that right after we recorded that, we planned to do another version about a year later, and here we are. But the twist is this time, all of our songs have to be from a different category. So our town theme today is not a town theme in the original game, and so on. I've been excited about this for a long time to see what everyone would pick, and I'm super excited about this result. And of course, we have the same panel because that just made sense. So I'm glad you're all here again. I had a lot of fun last time, and I think we're going to have fun today too.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, this one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember having a really good time the last time, so glad to be back.
I don't know where we can go with the concept from here, but I guess if we think of something today, maybe we'll do another one later, but we'll see. Before we get into the topic, there's a new thing I want to do with Rhythm Encounter this year, or starting here anyway, just to get a little more conversation like ahead of the topic and talk more about some recent stuff. What we're going to do is just go around briefly and talk about what we've been listening to. Maybe we can call the segment, "What are you listening to?" Look, I woke up an hour ago. Okay, that's all I have right now.
I feel like it needs a jingle.
Oh, it does need a jingle. Yeah, I'll go talk to the host at Buffering and see if we can get a jingle.
There we go.
Yeah. So, who would anyone like to go first? About what you've been listening to lately, and this could be game music or not, just whatever, anything musical.
I have a couple things, but neither of them are new, so
that's fine. It doesn't have to be new. It's just what you're listening to.
Okay. First, game related. I discovered how good the Return of the Obra Dinn soundtrack is.
Ooh, yes.
Whether you're working or just like relaxing, it's very, very fun to listen to, and it's got such a great amount of range for the tools they used, and it's just a lot of fun to listen to. So I've had that on a lot, and then otherwise, I'm gonna admit that I have been going back and visiting my inner teenager and listening to some emo-ish things lately, like Thrice in a Perfect Circle, and I've been enjoying that. It's been fun to revisit. It holds up better than I thought it would, so that's kind of comforting.
Okay, sounds like your inner teenager is doing okay then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go ahead. So I'm like Hilary, like I have 2 things, like one gaming related, one not. So the gaming related one is, well, I've been listening to, because spoiler alert, I'm going to be on the Best of the Year episode.
Yay!
2024, and I've been listening to a lot of the Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance soundtrack, because it's been like a whole year thing for me ever since it came out. Like I've just been listening to it, and it's ramped up again because like I was like choosing a song and then I picked one, but I remembered every song from that soundtrack, that 4-disc monster of a soundtrack. It's so good. It's so good. It's this really experimental even for the series. It's like it's a bit challenging, but if you like really noisy rock music and electronic music that sounds menacing and a little and funky in equal measure, I think you should definitely check out the Shin Megami Tensei 5 Vengeance soundtrack. And then as for non-gaming related music, I'm almost ashamed to say what I've been listening to because it's unethical. But I recently discovered someone made has been making like these really good jazz fusion albums and just putting it on YouTube for free. But the thing is, these jazz fusion albums were made using AI. And I didn't know that at first. Like I didn't realize it. But then by the time I realized it, they got me already. Like I was hooked. I've been listening to like all of these albums and I was like both impressed and horrified that they're using AI.
Whoa.
Like I was like, oh no, like how many trees did they burn down to make? I'm just joking, but but it's really good. I'm because like they say that they use AI to like guide the song, but like it's largely they use real instruments and all that. But
okay, all right.
Yeah,
At least it has that going for it.
Yeah, so it's not fully AI, but I find it. I almost don't believe them because like they know there's a stigma around using AI for art. So but it's like a fake 80s band called Fantasia, PH, like Fantasy Star, but Fantasia. And they've been putting out all these albums like with really nice cover art, also made using AI, and the songs like they're so very much, they sound like they're from the 80s, and you would really never think it wasn't. And I'm just impressed that AI can do this now, and it's also very scary for real musicians. But that's how it is these days. So, but yeah, I almost don't want to recommend it, but then it's probably worth listening to if you want, if you're curious, because it's just there on YouTube. It's free.
Gio, may I recommend more game music for our next episode instead?
Sure.
Oh.
And I mean, like, no harm in having the conversation and saying, that's what you've been listening to. Yeah,
right.
So don't feel bad, Gio.
Oh, thank you.
So there's a YouTuber I watch who does Magic the Gathering content, and he was talking about AI art and it sounds like a similar way to what you're talking about here, where he does a lot of he does a lot of the framework and actually does like sketches and picks color palettes and stuff like that, and then uses AI to go from there with it to kind of like morph it or shape it. And that sounds like a very similar thing to what you're saying here, which gets into kind of the weird corner case ethical stuff. And obviously there's still environmental concerns and stuff, but I like that there are conversations about it, but it also makes some of the things slightly less or slightly more gray, which is also frustrating in its own way. I'll go in a completely different direction here with my what I've been listening to. I've been listening to Epic the Musical, which has been coming out for a while. It's done by a bunch of people. Was mostly just kind of like an internet project where people were sending stuff in to this guy who wrote and composed an entire musical. And if you are, it's following the story of the Odyssey. And it just finished recently. He lists Lin-Manuel among his inspirations, and it kind of shows with a lot of his wordplay and rhythm and stuff. And it's really good.
I'm glad that came up because I vaguely heard of it and didn't quite know what it was, so that's exciting.
No, that's cool.
They just put out a, since it finished, if you go to their YouTube page, they have a 2.5 hour thing that's the full thing with select animatics from the fan community.
Ooh.
To kind of highlight each song as they go. It's a really good listen, especially if you are a musical fan.
Nice. And it did not take 10 or so years to get through, and I did not get thwarted by Poseidon.
It's true. You did not. They may have.
Okay. And then I will go. Mostly what I've been listening to lately is the Buffering the Vampire Slayer podcast that you got me into, Lucas. And then I'm very on and off with podcasts. I like listening to them when I work, but then sometimes I get I need music. So I'm only now getting to season 4. And that's not music, but there's a music. There's a song in it. There's a song at the end of every episode. So yeah, I've just been enjoying that all over again. So I'm glad that you were here, so I can thank you in person, as it was. But yeah, besides that, actual music. A few years ago, they released that electronic EDM remix album for Final Fantasy XIV called Pulse. And they just released recently volume 2, and they did it in 2 sessions, they called it. And I think it was last week or a week before last, the second volume 2 session 2 came out. So I've been listening to that a bit. I think it's a lot of fun. I like it more than session 1. I'm not sure if I overall like it more than the first album, but it's very cool. It's just a fun, different take on the music. I also have been listening to Oberdin a little bit because I have not played the game, but ever since you brought it up, Hilary, I was like, oh no, this is really good. And then a bit of the 8-bit big band because we saw them last month, and I don't know.
They posted the whole concert.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
They posted the whole concert from Boston, and they're starting to post a few more. Because they debuted a lot of songs at that concert from their upcoming album, and they're starting to post some of those on their channel too. I know they just posted one of 2 versions of Cass's theme from Breath of the Wild.
Am I allowed to call back to my retro draft choices?
Yeah.
It's wild how much their concert lineup lined up with what I picked in the Zelda draft on retro.
Yeah.
Because I was having the Zelda characters starting a band. Yep. So Cass was an early pick of mine, and they did 2 versions of Cass theme for this concert. And then my Nintendo, outside Zelda pick was KK Slider, and they did KK Disco. It was all the stuff I drafted coming together in a concert. It was really exciting.
So yeah, I don't know when their next album is coming out, but since they have all the have a bunch of the songs, hopefully it's sooner rather than later, because they're really great.
I'll have to check out their new album. I went through a bunch of their backlog after you guys had their version of Pollyanna,
That's such
a
good
rhythm
one.
episode a while ago,
Yeah.
Yes.
and
It's one of my
that
favorites.
became a favorite.
Yeah. Well, maybe next time they're playing, we'll let you know and make you drive out here.
It's fair.
So yeah, they're really good. I was so happy about Cass's theme, and I'm not going to go on too long of a tangent about this because we have an episode to get to. But I will say that was my only complaint about Tears of the Kingdom was that Cass was not in it. But he's mentioned like one NPC somewhere, and I found that NPC. I was like, once I like started exploring, I'm like, you know what? I just got it in my head. I'm like, why is he not around? Where is he? And I made a point to venture to his home, because I remember where his home was from Breath of the Wild, and he wasn't there, but there was someone there who was like, oh yes, he's off on a pilgrimage or whatever he's doing. I'm like, okay, at least it was acknowledged, and I'm okay now.
Aw.
I mean, he's one of my favorite NPCs in Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
All right. Well, is everyone ready to build? I know Hilary and I have built 3 Lego sets in the last 2 weeks, so we're definitely in a building mood.
Okay,
I'm ready.
Yeah. All right.
Let's get our figurative. Hey, we have blocks. Well, we usually have blocks. We kind of don't today.
We have 8 little blocks instead of 4 chunky ones.
Yeah, there we go.
So if you're familiar with the last episode, we're doing the same categories. If you're not, we're just going to explain the categories as we go. So the idea was we settled on like what are 8 like main musical categories for a game. So like a title, a map theme, town, etc. So of course, what we're going to start with today is our title theme or main theme. And that was your pick, Gio. So what are we starting with?
Yes, I'm bringing Hollow Charge from Cosmic Star Heroine. The composers are Hyperduck Soundworks.
All right, let's go listen to Hollow Charge.
So, yeah, that was Hollow Charge from Cosmic Star Heroine, and this was like one of the categories like I was really wanting to do because like I had an idea right away because I was listening to the Cosmic Star Heroine soundtrack, coincidentally around the same time, and this song in particular really stood out to me, and I was like wondering, oh, what is it? Like it's in the track list, it's like in the middle of the soundtrack, but I was like wondering, it sounds kind of like an intro song, and I remember Mike even asked me like, hey, is this really like not a title theme?
It just sounds like one. Yeah,
it really does. And but actually it's a town theme late in the
What?
game. Like, yeah, it's like a
Okay,
city
okay.
theme. Yeah, and it's meant to evoke like this, dystopian cyberpunk world, kind of like Midgar.
Hmm.
Yeah, but I in my head, like it could be that, it could be like a cyberpunk dystopia, or it could be like Law and Order. It kind of sounds like that. Like
I mean, both of us wrote that down. I said procedural drama TV show.
Okay, good. All right, we're on the same page already.
And so, because like I was worried that it sounds like I don't want to like make our constrict like the genre of the RPG that we're building. But so at least there's like two options, or it could be like an FF7 situation where like it starts in like a cyberpunk world, but in this cyberpunk city, but the rest of the world is not really like that. So it could be like that. But yeah, I found it funny that I just found it like I really wanted to pick the song, and then I thought, oh, it'd be funny if this Law and Order song was like the opening theme of our RPG. Yeah,
I kind of pick it up now that you're saying it, but that did not even cross my mind for a police procedural. My mind kept going to, you know how in a lot of the Mega Man openings they start with this really mellow vibe, and then they go into the super like more energetic sound.
I sure do.
It sounded like it. That was where my brain kept going with this. Was like, this is like that first half of the Mega Man 2 or 3 opening before it goes into the energetic break.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. That works. That works. Yeah.
I think I caught a little bit of that too, Lucas, because the last thing in my notes here is all about how, like, this is a good opening because it does evoke like maybe a certain setting or maybe like a certain type of story, but because the instrumentation is kind of sparse and musically it leaves some room for flexibility to like go more energetic or go a different direction, I think, from here.
Yeah, I think so. It's moody, but it could easily be a parody or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's not like, no, this is all moody all the time.
Yeah. Not like a perfect circle.
Hey!
I'm just kidding.
I mean, not inaccurate, but...
I did also notice, I think, and we'll get more into this a little bit later, but it had some jazzy aspects to it with just that like thing, and I feel like we did have a few other songs that kind of touched on that as well.
Yes, yeah.
I'll talk about this more, but there was enough that I definitely leaned into the whole, like, maybe detective story. I think we might be in an indie game this time, maybe a visual novel, not sure.
I can see it.
But I leaned into that for the other tracks.
Okay. My notes have a loose narrative, but probably not as tight as yours, it sounds like. As for this song, my first notes were also that it sounds like a either a procedural or like specifically like a detective show or something, a drama show from the 80s or 90s. And unsurprisingly, I'm a visual person. So like, as I'm thinking about it and picturing those shows, and I've watched a lot of old shows because of how long ago I was born. Well, when I was born, but also like as a kid, I almost never watched current stuff. As a kid, I watched old shows on Nick at Night. So I'm very familiar with stuff like before my time.
Yeah, not an uncommon thing for someone our age.
Yeah, Nick at Night was great. So like I'm listening to this song and just picturing the opening of this game with like this like chunky yellow font introducing all the actors.
Actor names as
yeah, but instead of like Angela Lansbury walking on screen, it's like Fate Line God
Well, now I want JB Fletcher in our game.
I mean, yeah, who wouldn't? So like, it's kind of funny. Like, I'm looking back. I didn't go back to my notes at the beginning, but I'm like, we took them in order, and I'm like, oh, I wonder how this plays out later. And actually, pretty well, as it turns out. So yeah, I'm sorry, Gio. I didn't mean to question you, but it's like, it's so like, this has to be a title theme, right? It works so well.
It has the right atmosphere. Yeah, I could absolutely see a menu. Like,
yeah. But you know, that's the fun of this episode. I'm really impressed with what everyone picked, and I mean, we'll talk about that as we go too. But it's like, yeah, I can see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of times, like when I was listening to the songs, I was like, wait, this isn't like a town theme. This isn't a dungeon theme. Like, yeah.
Oh, we stopped in the middle of taking notes last night when we got to the town theme. Like, what does the town theme sound like then? Because
right.
If this isn't the town theme,
Mike found it and was like, okay, this is the town.
Yeah. I almost like Lucas's pick better for the town theme.
Oh, I absolutely do.
But we're actually not at the town yet.
No.
First, we're going to be exploring the overworld.
We got to get introduced to the world first, right?
Yeah.
My pick for the map/overworld is Vana'diel March number 2 by Naoshi and Mizuta from the Final Fantasy XI soundtrack.
All right. Let's go listen to Vana'diel March number 2.
Okay, so yes, the Vana'diel March is a song you may know just if you're generally a fan of Final Fantasy music, or Theatrhythm, which is how I really fell in love with the song originally. But this version is actually like ending music. It's closing credit music, I believe from one of the early expansions of 11. And, you know, I like it because it feels a little bit more like traditional RPG music, but you still have the horns, which kind of ties in with a little bit of some of the jazzy elements from other songs that people have picked. And I felt that the pace and it also has a little bit sparser instrumentation than some other versions of Vana'diel March. So, a little bit quieter, fewer instruments playing at once, that kind of thing, which I felt lent itself very well to like a map or an overworld. It's still sounds a little bit grand, still sounds a little bit like a march, especially with the brass. But you could spend some time there and you don't feel rushed, and it feels a little bit more like you're exploring a whole world or a whole area. So that's why I picked it. If I am continuing to go with kind of like the detective story or like visual novel kind of theme, I absolutely feel that slow ponderous tone could be like the first time you're venturing out from the first location in the game and you've got that map in front of you and you're looking at all the different locations and figuring out where to go next to look for clues or something like that.
Okay, I can see it.
Yeah, I definitely got the vibe of stepping out into a first adventure kind of vibe. Which is what you want out of a map screen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I really like this song. I think I liked how they switched it up with the prelude, the Final Fantasy prelude, like the arpeggio. Like it does something like da 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 da, and then it's been stuck in my head for for a while.
Yes, this one's an earworm, and I love the little call outs to the prelude.
And so, I just think it's perfect. It's like it's just a great choice.
Thank you. Hopefully we won't run into any of like copyright infringement issues with that one because of the prelude.
I mean, no more than we do on any other episode.
True.
Every episode of Rhythm Encounter has like a copyright claim on YouTube.
Oh dear.
But it's just a claim, not a strike, so nothing's been taken down.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking, which is really nice with this, is overworld themes that have a full 4-minute loop would be lovely more often.
Yes. Yeah, this is actually that's a good point. This is one of our longer selections.
Mm-hmm.
Which, especially if you don't know where to go or are just looking around, maybe looking for some side quests.
Yeah, for sure.
Some of those overworld themes can get, like, they start out really great, they get old after a while. I feel like this one would not have that problem, especially with the variations throughout it.
Yeah.
Unless it started at the beginning every time, I guess maybe, but that's a different problem.
And that's something you can kind of play with as you're creating your game. Maybe it picks up from wherever it left off when you left last.
Right.
Exactly.
Oh, that'd be so nice.
Right?
Every once in a while, a game will do that.
Yeah.
Like if you go in and out of a battle scene or something like that, and like the music keeps going instead of like starting from the top again.
Right.
More games should do that.
It's so funny. I guess I shouldn't say this. I'm going to say it about every song, but this is not an overworld theme. It's such a good pick for this. It like everyone said, it really captures that sense of adventure that you want from a map theme. And whether it's like it's one of those games where you either spend a lot of time in the opening town before you get to the map, that's common, or Or maybe like there's a long sequence of events somewhere and like you get back to the map. Breath of Fire 2 is one of my old favorite games, and they did that really well because they had multiple map themes, and like after like very important events in the story, it would change. So like when you get back to the map, you're like, oh wow, like the music is different, and just gives you this like renewed sense of purpose. So like I think this would work. This gives me that same kind of sensation of some of those moments.
And maybe we would change it up depending on, you know, what happens in our game or the details of it. Maybe we would have more than one map theme. But this is a good starting point.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
Where you're all fresh and starting on your adventure.
Yeah.
Or the world is beating you down.
Right. Especially if you're in a hard-boiled detective visual novel. Maybe I'll stop pushing that. I don't know.
No, I mean that intro set it up.
It works for the. I like the idea of that being kind of the like the through line, or even like how they do like almost like a Phantasy Star 4 kind of like do those cutaways for the cutscenes where it feels more like a visual novel, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah.
Or kind of like a hybrid vibe.
Yep.
Because obviously we're going to have battles and dungeons and stuff. We have themes for them. So we've got to have a little bit of traditional RPG in there too, but you can make it a little bit of a hybrid.
Yeah.
I like it.
I feel like half the stuff we cover at the site is some kind of hybrid at this point, so yeah, why not?
What even are the distinctions anymore?
No, let's not.
Okay, I'm sorry.
I don't know.
I know that's. I know.
It's
It's a struggle.
It's a struggle to not cover way more than we need to, but also cover the things that we should.
I want to say, like, Hilary saying, like, you know, I mean, we could have like a second Overworld theme, like, you know, as the story goes on. I feel like that's a good way to like continue like this episode, like next year, is we could continue to like flesh out the soundtrack of this RPG we're making.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And just choose different
Hard mode
categories.
Hard mode 2.
Add a few
and then
more
we-
categories.
Director's cut.
Director's right. And then do we keep our same category and just kind of add a supplement, like what we would want our second version of that category to be?
Well, you probably wouldn't have a second title or ending, so you'd have to add a few more vibes
that's
in.
true.
But
True.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, hold on.
Categories.
I'm not going to actually you, but sometimes games do a different title theme once you finish it.
The
True,
New Game
true.
Plus.
Yes.
New Game Plus,
Yeah.
or
New
like
Game Plus title
good
theme.
ending, bad ending.
or even like something else that comes before, like you could have the title screen and then like the opening, like cinematic,
Yeah,
or
the opening
Okay, yeah.
Or the menu.
or the menu.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm sold.
Okay, all right.
Yay!
I knew we figured it out. We'd figured it out somewhere in here, and I think this could work. But before we talk about an episode from 2026,
Right.
do we want to talk about our town theme today?
Yes.
Okay. So for the town theme, I chose the title screen from Harvest Moon 64, which is by Tsuyoshi Tanaka.
All right. So let's go listen to our town theme title screen.
Amazing. Is our now named title screen?
This is a really weird game world, okay?
So title screen is surprisingly actually the title screen from Harvest Moon 64. I started out this episode just listening to random soundtracks and trying to find things that I could potentially place, and I was struggling. And I changed gears a little bit, and my strategy became, what if I picked a game that's all town?
Oh, I like that. Okay.
So I kind of was just listening through. I was like, okay, Harvest Moon is all town all the time. Something there has to really resonate for it. And that's not just an on the farm theme or a theme for the town. And ended up listening to several soundtracks, and Harvest Moon 64 is I think I played this back in the day. It's not a soundtrack I'm like super familiar with or anything like that, but this one jumped out at me. I was like, I like that. It's got a little bit of that. I hadn't heard Geo's theme yet, but I had was like, oh yeah, it's got a kind of a little bit of a jazzy feel with that, like the flute going, and I really like the vibe it gives, and it's definitely feels like a town.
My first thought was just, this isn't a town. This isn't a town. It's title screen, and yeah, I just like the rhythm, the dun, 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 dun. It just, I feel like walking around this town wouldn't get boring just because of this song. It just works incredibly well, and I really like how you ended up choosing it. It's a really clever way of going about it.
Yeah. This, guys, this was supposed to be the hard version, but so far you've all proven to be way too good at figuring this out. Like, if I didn't know what the twist was in this episode, it would take no effort to convince me this already was the town theme. It just really perfects that like bouncy, like lighthearted town theme. It's something we're familiar with in a lot of RPGs, and especially in like farming and sim games. And it's so lively, and it's really like, it just has that sense of like, encouraging you to like walk around and chat with everyone.
Mm-hmm. Movement is what I put in my notes. Yeah.
Now, if we are trying to make a procedural or a crime, any kind of a drama here, I'm not sure how this works.
Oh, I got you.
I don't. Okay, good, because I'm like, it can't. I don't think it could be like a murder. This is too happy. So maybe it's something lighter, like the crime is like, someone stole the farmer's like prized head of lettuce or something.
Or this could represent like the people who, yes, there's crime exists, but this is the people who are kind of more unaware, kind of like the musical theater version of just like appreciation for the city, kind of like the cutaway, the light moment.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Or maybe like even between cases or something like that, going out on the town to celebrate. Like this is the... Yeah.
Before the tragedy.
Or before the tragedy.
Yeah, okay. So they're going on the town to celebrate, and then they discover something else.
Yeah. Or even like a day theme versus like a night theme. It's a little bit seedier. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. This is where you get to go and do non-case related things, maybe with your crew who's helping you on the case or something.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm doing, I don't know, a shoulder wag.
A shoulder wave.
Shoulder wave, yep.
Or something I hadn't put to words, Geo specifically mentioned the walking, kind of like the baseline. And I feel like that is a really good summation there. It gets that the walking baseline gives you that walking feel that just, like you said, keeps moving, and I like it.
Yeah, and I think it's a good through line. Like if we do have some jazzy kind of like detective-y elements, that type of bass line, and kind of the strumming that I also noticed in this one, like that's it. I think that's a good way to ensure that it's still like a little bit musically connected to the other things we have going on, but a different tone.
Yeah. When I'm doing the notes for the last one and this episode, I'm like, I'm sort of trying to think about what the game would be, but mostly I'm focusing on just my song notes because like I know that we're going to figure it out as we go. So like I didn't try too hard to like figure this out on my own because I like the idea of us figuring it out kind of live as we go. So I'm really enjoying this.
Yeah, I did not have a full picture before this, and I'm starting to now.
Yeah.
I kind of take the opposite approach. I have to have some sort of like cohesive idea in my head to at least like suggest, present something.
Yeah,
but I also like talking about it back and forth and expanding and changing it.
Yeah, like you're not going to do a jigsaw puzzle without looking at the front of the box.
No.
You know? Actually, I wouldn't either. That's a bad example. All right, let us move on to battle themes then. And that's my first song. So I brought on Communication Breakdown. That's from Xenosaga Episode 2, and that's by Yuki Kajiura. So let's go listen. All right, this one, picking this song was so hard for me. I have so many battle themes in RPGs that I love, but I challenged myself to like find something that was like matched the energy that I was looking for that wasn't a battle theme. And since I just love the soundtracks for Xenosaga 2 and 3 so much, I was like, there's got to be something here, right? Something that we haven't had on the show before, no less. The soundtracks overall are so good, but any time like she gets like some songs with like vocal treatments in there, it's just top tier for me. So many of them have such a high level of like drama and intensity, and once I started listening, I'm like, oh, like I can easily picture this as a battle theme or a late game battle theme, maybe. Even when you get to that moment around like between like 2:20, 2:30, like around the 2.5 minute mark, the song kind of like dials down, like the intensity goes away for a bit, which sort of sounds like the results screen after the battle. I'm like, this works pretty well.
Yeah, or like a different phase or something.
Something like that, yeah. And of course, it's not a battle theme. The interesting but also a little bit unfortunate thing about Xenosaga 2 is that they only released like half the game's music or part of the game's music as a soundtrack, because Kajiura did all the cutscene music, which is what this is from, and then Shinji Hizoe did the in-game music, which somehow, for some reason, didn't get a soundtrack release. Still, so the only soundtrack out there is all the cutscene music, and it's great. I wish one day they would release all of it, but yeah, I didn't actually play episode 2 through to the end, so I can't specify which, but I know it appears in multiple cutscenes of various levels of drama. So, yeah, I've this game. I unfortunately looked it up last night, and Xenosaga episode 2 is over 20 years old now. But I've had the soundtrack since that came out, and I still love it as much as I did 20 years ago. So I'm really happy to bring it on here.
Yeah, great choice. I think this allows for like so much freedom and flexibility. This track really got me thinking, what would a battle in our hypothetical game look like? What kind of things is this evoking for me? And I kind of, sticking to the theme, I sort of thought that maybe this is where like the disturbing or otherworldly elements start creeping in, and you have to actually start fighting after maybe there not being combat for a portion of the game, something like that. I also noticed like we're getting a little bit more fancy with our instrumentation. We've got the chorus, we've got some swelling strings, and I love the crashes, and then the quiet section with the bells is just really cool.
Yeah,
that could be like a cool reveal, or like you said, or a results screen, or so many possibilities, and I think that's what I really, really like about this choice.
Yeah, I feel like this is... I like what you said about the disturbing elements. The word I had down was intense, where it was just sudden intensity after this, a lot more like cerebral and like almost relaxing kind of vibes with a lot of our other stuff. And then this is like, it's hit the fan now.
I will say the title of this song is like the first that actually like fits our theme, coincidentally, like communication breakdown. So maybe battles occur when witnesses don't want to talk to us. Like,
they're stonewalling you.
Okay.
Yeah, they're stonewalling.
And then you find out they're actually some Lovecraftian beast. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm actually a cultist.
Yeah.
And
that would explain it.
Yeah.
And I agree with everyone else. Like, I think this works really well as a battle theme because like the song keeps evolving, like it's not repetitive. So that, when the strings come in, that's when you could like use portions for like different parts of the battle, like different phases of the battle. And this, I love the strings building, it really did start to sound like a battle theme there. And then the twinkling bells, yeah, were also like a huge highlight for me. I really enjoyed that. Xenosaga is kind of like a blind spot for me. I've just not heard. I don't know much about the games. I don't know much about the soundtrack, but every time, you know, someone brings Xenosaga, I'm like, that's good. That's a good song. So this continues that.
I don't think I knew that about you, because I know how much you like Xenoblade. I didn't realize you didn't know these games.
Oh, yeah. I'm a Xeno fan starting from Xenoblade, not Xenogears, Xenosaga. I don't know. I don't know those games because they're so hard to get a hold of. So.
Yeah.
True. I think I might have to put myself in that category at least a little bit too. Like I think I know I have one, maybe two. I think I might just have one from the Xenosaga games, and you know I did play some of it. But honestly, it's a case of me knowing the music better than the games. These are soundtracks that I definitely like to listen to without even having the game context.
Right. Yeah, but it's true. They're too hard to get. Okay. If we're ready for our dungeon theme, I went in a very different direction for that one. So what we're doing for our dungeon theme, because I really wanted to do something different for a dungeon, is One Small Step from Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker, and that is by Masayoshi Soken. So in Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker, we visit the moon which would be a spoiler if that wasn't something they had shown and promoted for years leading up to the release. So
The title screen has a moon.
and also the title screen shows a moon, and it's all over the place. And they tease the moon since A Realm Reborn. But yeah, anyway. And also it's sort of, you can say it's a Final Fantasy IV reference, although it's the least direct of those references. But I adore the song. It's so like mysterious and sort of peaceful. The piano really gets me, and the like super like slow, deep, and like distant vocals, they really convey the sense of this big, open, and unfamiliar place. So of course in 14 it's just an overworld, like an area theme. But you know, I like it when an RPG dungeon like bucks the trend of, you know, like the high stakes adventure, or just like a dungeon, like kind of creepy music, stuff like that. Which is, you know, part of why, even though a lot of players maybe feel otherwise, but I like the Snowcloak music in Final Fantasy XIV because it's very peaceful. It doesn't feel like anything you expect from a dungeon. So I don't know, that's the take I wanted here too. Like, I like the idea of like having this in a dungeon theme where you're like, you know, you're introduced to like maybe this like sprawling, like unknown space to explore. And I mean, maybe if anyone had thoughts, like you can get into it, but like I didn't want to define it like beyond that. Like I didn't want to define like a look or setting. I didn't have one in mind, because I think it's more interesting to like kind of leave that open to people's interpretation. But yeah, I don't feel like we get this style of music in a dungeon as much as I would like. And I just think it's interesting. Just the idea of like going really different, and the mood I get out of this, and like it makes you want to like explore and see what's around. And,
yeah. And it's a little bit moody. It's like it's a little bit dark, but like also expansive.
Yeah.
Which I really like. And I think you're right. The two conventions very often for dungeons are either creepy or really, really like tense, loud.
Oh yeah, tense.
You have to fight your way out of here, kind of. Yeah. So I enjoy that this is bucking the trend as well, and that is definitely a large part of my notes. Of course, I sort of continued with the theme, thinking along the lines of like, if we are introducing some like supernatural or disturbing elements into our like detective adventure visual novel kind of RPG, maybe it's like we can be creative about what a dungeon is. Like maybe it's in so many early 2000 games or something like that. Maybe it's a digital space. Maybe it's part of the supernatural elements.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
who knows? But like you can be super creative, and there's absolutely room for like a nice expansive area to explore that's a quote unquote dungeon.
I mean, you're definitely talking about like the, you know, vaguely like neon, like quote unquote cyberspace.
Oh yeah.
In games,
right.
Or if you remember that weird virtual reality episode of Lois and Clark, where they're like flying through space or whatever. Like this is the digital world.
This is
like,
the web.
Everyone's in the weird floating glass cubes. Yeah. You know. Okay.
I don't know.
I had a very different vibe in mind in the
Nice,
digital
please
space
share.
when I was listening to it, but my brain went to very like cavernous, very like underground somewhere, maybe with some water.
Ooh.
I get like the arpeggios and the reverb gave me this very like cave vibe.
Yeah.
And or maybe even a sewer, something with water. And in particular, there's a percussion hit that is kind of like a very light, like it's like bum bum shh, very like light in the background that occasionally like I think it's almost meant as kind of this like heartbeat like recursion, but it almost felt like water dripping to me as I was listening to it, where it's this like semi-regular thing that's just like boom boom shh.
Yeah, but
in
almost
the background,
almost not noticeable at
yeah,
for the majority of it. Yeah, can definitely see that. And yeah, nothing says like expansive cave or like expansive open area like Reverb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I had the exact same idea that Lucas did. I even wrote cavernous in my notes too.
Oh,
It's like a cavernous hallway, a dim cavernous hallway with faintly glowing crystals on the sides.
oh.
I actually had crystals down in my note too.
All right, so there need to be crystals now.
Okay.
It's official.
Okay.
Yeah,
Or crystals.
and
How does a Final Fantasy song make you think of crystals? That's weird.
oh,
I don't
weird.
know.
Yeah, and I desperately want to connect this somehow to the detective RPG, and maybe our intrepid detective finds himself in some catacombs.
Maybe that's where the
below.
cultists live.
Yeah, you know,
Just thinking, yeah, with the supernatural elements, a cave full of weird crystals is totally in line with that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yes.
we can make it work.
yes. But on the digital concept, I mean, I'm reminded of this game, the Somnium Files.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all about that digital. Yeah, like there's like a digital. They can do like a digital overlay over a crime scene and music like that, or music that it's different instrumentation, but kind of sounds like One Small Step kind of
Ooh,
comes
all
up,
right.
and so it works too. Yeah. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that the arpeggio in the song kind of ends up being cohesive with the overworld theme. So like,
Yes.
it's like, yeah,
Mhm.
there's like an overworld. There's like some sort of leitmotif going on all of a sudden.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a callback.
Yeah.
You gotta have that.
Yeah. So yeah.
I like it.
Oh, good. I'm glad we all got a sort of similar vibe to that. Also, you mentioned somewhere in there, Hilary, we're now calling this, I forgot exactly how you said it, the procedural adventure visual novel RPG, and you perfectly illustrated what we said earlier in the show. And like, there's so many genres now. Do we cover this? I don't know.
Is this something we would actually cover that we've created here?
Yeah.
Maybe?
I mean, it does hit all of our major keywords.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. It does.
We haven't used the word action yet, so we're
Correct.
probably good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's this game coming up, Deca Police, and it's kind of that, right? Like it's like a detective RPG. Level 5.
Yeah.
Like level 5
Yeah.
is that game coming up. Yeah.
Is Deca Play still, is that meant for like this year now? I actually lost track.
I know it's meant for next year.
Next year still?
I'm pretty
Okay.
sure, yeah.
Well, it looks cool.
It was really originally supposed to come out 2023
Oh,
or
jeez.
2024, so they keep pushing it back, and it's starting to get absurd. It's starting to get
Yeah.
weird.
I think it was the Professor Layton was the only one that they're like, yeah, this is 2025. Like,
And Fantasy Life.
Oh, yeah.
Fantasy Life, yeah.
yeah. Well, that one's the first one, huh? That one's, as long as that makes April.
Yeah. Still no release date there.
Oh,
So
oh boy. Hopefully, crossing our fingers. Because we don't want to be sad. That was a really forced segue to our sad emotional theme.
It's true.
We set the tone.
Yeah.
We did. Okay,
All right.
so our emotional theme is the Bloom outro from Ender Lily's Quietus of the Nights by Mili.
All right. Let's go listen.
So I took a similar approach with this one that I did with the town theme, where I had been struggling a little bit to find something that really worked and that I really liked. So I decided to just find a game that was all sad and emotional.
Okay, all right.
And Ender Lilies is super melancholic the whole way through.
Yep.
It is all vibes all the time. This is the second phase of a boss fight.
That's wild.
Okay.
Which is, and it's not like a big emotional boss fight or something like that. It is literally all the boss fights are kind of like this.
Wow.
So, yeah. It is. I definitely fits better as an emotional theme, which I think is kind of their intentional contrast in that game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's moody piano. It kind of has a little bit of that jazz feel still, but this is definitely the lightest our instrumentation gets, which Hilary had been talking about. Is kind of the more going on, the more we're getting into that, grand adventure vibe, and this is more of a quiet moment.
Yeah, and it's so funny because when I think boss themes, I think solo piano. Not usually, but
right.
I love this. I think the slightly jazzy vibes fit in so well with some of our other instrumentation and some of our other picks. It's cohesive enough, but it's slightly different so that it kind of gives you those cues that you might need for like an emotional moment. And I think something else is, it is pretty much the sparsest in terms of instrumentation that we've seen so far, but that can also work for an emotional theme. And it kind of, as I was listening to it, I wrote down it supported the idea in my head that I have going on, that this is probably more of an indie game. We've got some tracks that are a little bit grander, have more instruments, have vocals, but this is a simple but very effective one. And I'm also glad to see the music from this game come up in rhythm, because I think it is a good soundtrack that is not really on people's radar.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus there's a sequel that's technically coming soon, but
I believe it will be. Well, it's been. I think it's early access currently, and it's going to be the full release. Will be out by the time this episode comes out, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm very excited.
I really think you got the vibe, like, just really down on this one. It's interesting, given the use and the fact that it obviously is a sad game. Not having the context, I maybe got something a little different out of it, because there is a sadness to it, but like it's also just really touching. Like I get more of the, we're calling this like our sad / emotional theme. I get more of the emotional theme than just
a little
sadness.
Not strictly sad. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's like something like it could just, I could see it even as like a touching scene between like, two party members or like good friends or something like that.
Opening up, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the moment where they transition from just being party members to being friends, kind of thing.
The scene at the bar where the detective and someone else on the case understand each other a little bit. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm shoehorning the theme in a little bit there, but
yeah. So like less sadness for me, more like wistfulness, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah,
I can see it.
That's a good word. You said bar. My brain was going to smoking in an alley, which is very similar.
Okay, yeah. Is it raining? It's got to be raining.
Oh, it's raining.
Yeah.
It's raining.
Yeah. That's what I wrote down. Like I wrote, it's raining. Like I wrote rain. Yeah, I just wrote rain. And it works with, detective game. It's always like that noir vibe, like it rains and maybe something happened, like maybe a death happened that could have been prevented, and the killer managed to managed to get one up on the detective. So
Oh yeah, the regrouping music.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so this is like near the climax of the game, probably. It actually did make me sad when I listened to it, because so mission accomplished, I guess, for this.
Yeah, it's
for this song.
really like honestly a very effective song for sure.
Yeah, even without context.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. Well, so if this is leading up to the climax of our game, I guess that means we're about to fight the final boss.
Yep, final boss is next.
I'm way too excited about this. Just to mention, like, this was going to be my battle theme, but Hilary and I talked, and we were like, no, this is better as a final boss theme. It's too much for a regular battle.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
But it's great.
Yeah.
So this is going to be Touch It from Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. It's a Final Fantasy remix of Ariana Grande.
All right. Let's go listen to Touch It.
Woo! Okay, so we are back with final boss Ariana Grande.
I was trying not to giggle when you kept saying the word grand during the last one.
Yeah, fair. I was secretly, subconsciously thinking ahead, I guess. Yeah, so this, I mean, this is way too over the top for just a battle, I feel. So thank you for making that switch and like thinking through it with me.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. It's got drama, it's got a great driving rhythm, it's got the escalating, like swelling orchestra. It's got everything, and I think most of our music budget probably went into this song.
I mean, it's not cheap to get Ariana, especially as an indie developer.
Yeah.
But she really believed in this project, so
Wow.
she was willing to.
I like how we went beyond just like imagining the game, and now we're imagining some of the behind the scenes.
Yes. You mentioned the budget.
That's true.
You did mention the budget last time.
Okay. Whew. All right. So, yeah, I mean, that's in my notes, something about the production values. But yeah, there's something about the opening woo sounds, the strings, and the march that really does say final boss. Just mentioning originally, I know we try to talk about like the original context of what we're bringing here. So Ariana was a character in Brave Exvius, so this was kind of a special thing done for her for this certain part of Exvius. So not a final boss name at all. In fact, you can have her in your party. And I think later they did a similar thing with Katy Perry, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. I don't remember Katy Perry's in-game name, but yeah.
Yeah, isn't Ariana's like Dangerous
Ariana.
Dangerous Ari. With a certain like cat themed costume.
It's cat or bunny.
Oh, it's bunny. Shoot, yeah.
One
bunny.
of the two.
I should know that.
Yeah.
Nope, I think you're right. But this, like, I mention this a lot with like boss themes, but this also, it keeps the energy very high throughout, which I know we talked about kind of subverting expectations with some of our other songs. This conforms to expectations a little bit more, but I still think there's enough variety in the music, especially when a lot of the instrumentation cuts away and it's mostly just the like vocal bridge, to make it work for like a longer battle. I also just think this inserts like a little bit more like higher energy, a little bit more fun, which I think is important to have in our soundtrack at this point. So,
oh yeah,
there we go. Hopefully everybody really enjoyed listening to it.
I really enjoyed it, but I am curious what our detective is touching.
Yeah, fair.
Maybe we're going back to those crystals or something, like some supernatural thing is, whispering for them to touch touch something and be trapped in a crystal or something. But
okay, all right.
Yeah.
Can the final boss just be Ariana Grande?
Don't steal my notes, Gio.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry.
Femme fatale Ariana Grande, and who like wants to trap you in a crystal.
Secretly the killer. RPG Pit does not believe that Ariana Grande will trap you in a crystal.
That is not our official
legal
stance.
disclaimer.
Ariana Grande is not an RPG villain.
No.
That we know. I'm not helping.
I did write that. Oh, I mean, she's a villain in Wicked, right? I haven't seen the movie.
I guess it depends on how you interpret it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen it. I heard that she's like, an antagonist or something like that. But yeah, I could see her as a villain. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. But she didn't trap anyone in a crystal in real life. Yeah,
that we know of.
That we know of. Yeah, there's no proof.
Yeah, I did write this song really reminded me of Arcane for some reason. The show.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, I like it.
And I could really see this song in the show. It has a similar energy, and it could very well be the soundtrack to a fight scene on the show, and I just feel like it was like a master stroke to choose this song in the first place.
Aw.
'Cause, man,
I can see, like, I know we might not have a lot of like actual combat in our game, but like I could see this song being really, really good for like fight choreography.
yeah,
Just saying.
yep,
Yes.
yep.
It wouldn't even have to be an actual interactive battle. It could be a montage.
Montage or like a cutscene battle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anime style animated battle.
Yeah.
Ariana Grande trying to trap you in a crystal.
See again,
Oh,
we're back to the budget. We had to get Ariana and we had to do a full animated
Oh
cutscene.
no!
We had production IG do it.
Oh, can we have her battle intro be like Yakuza, where like Ariana Grande, like her name, and then
Yeah.
Oh yes.
shows up in the middle. Yeah.
Yes.
When you said something like a cutscene battle, my brain, for some reason, went to Elite Beat Agents as
Oh
like
my
a
God.
mini game in the visual
I
novel,
forgot about that game.
which would also fit in with Touch It,
Yes. Okay.
Oh,
like
yes.
touchscreen.
So this is a DS.
This
game.
is now
It's,
getting silly, but
That's okay.
that's okay.
Now it's getting silly, Lucas.
Hey, before it was very noir and serious.
But like we said, we can't. That's the thing. To make a good game, you can't just be all noir, all serious the entire way through, because then you don't have
True.
any variation.
Right.
So I can
you've
imagine
got-
people getting mad about like a noir serious game with just a really silly final battle.
That does just mean it needs to be a little bit more anime.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Go over the top final villain definitely fits with a more anime vibe.
Yep. Yep.
She needs like nano machines, like in Metal Gear Rising.
Oh no. Boy.
Okay.
That's how the crimes happened.
Yeah.
Machines.
All right.
No,
Oh dear.
nano crystals.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
There we
Ah.
go.
It's
They're
nano-
not machines, they're nano
It's
crystals.
nano
Keep it
crystals, son.
supernatural.
Yeah. You know,
Oh my god.
I knew at some point we would, Hilary, one of us was going to bring this song on the show. One day it was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to be on this one, but I'm so happy it's here and that we're making this, molding this to work for our purposes. I like the song way more than I probably should, and that's putting it lightly.
I mean,
You know, it's one of my favorite songs in my like inspirational playlist. It was a highlight of our like cross country road trip driving out here a few years ago.
that's true.
Just the combination of like her vocals and the instrumentals, and I don't know, I just find it works so well.
Sometimes you just need to be a little bit extra.
Yeah. And when I was doing my notes, like I was thinking, it's like, okay, so like, are we fighting Ariana? Does she like the surprise last boss? And I'm like, no, she's great. So I think, you know, for me, what it is instead that she ends up joining your party against the actual villain.
So more like in Exvius.
Yeah. And then then this is the theme when you confront the actual villain who, and this is the only thing in my notes where I went through and did what you did.
Okay.
The actual villain who stole the lettuce. Because I'm sticking with the lighthearted crime, not murder. But now we've gone so far off into like Lovecraftian and noir, and like stealing lettuce doesn't work anymore. But that was what I was going for.
Yeah, so Ariana is the the damsel in distress that shows up at the detective agency at the beginning and starts the quest, and now she's there in the background while you're doing the final boss
But then
scene.
she has a more active role in the final
Yeah.
She's got a
confrontation.
more active role.
But specifically, she joins you as a guest character, because if she joined you as a regular party member, all her stats would like go down. But because she's a guest character,
Sure.
she can be overpowered.
Ooh, okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Thinking back to Chrono Trigger here, when someone joins your party and he suddenly is like level 1.
I was thinking back to the Legend 3, one of the Final Fantasy Legend games. where they absolutely had guest characters.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, I did not level up. I did not grind as much as I should have in those games, so they were always a little bit OP when I got them.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Okay. Did we make it to the end?
Almost.
Is it time for our... Well, I mean,
so.
no, but is it time for our ending theme?
I think we made it through the final battle.
Okay.
Yes, and it is time.
All right. Are you ready,
So-
Gio?
I'm ready.
Okay. What do we got?
I am bringing Welcome to Our Town from the Shining Force 2 Symphonic Suite, composed by Motoaki Takenouchi.
I really love the idea of a song that includes the word welcome as the ending theme. It's so good. All right, let's go listen to Welcome to Our Town.
So, I had this idea of wanting the end of our RPG to be like a curtain call, and it's kind of like the whole thing was just like a play, And so now all the characters get to come out on the stage and like get a round of applause or something like that. And like, so I was looking for a song that kind of conveyed that feeling.
Oh,
And I just happened to know this one, the town theme from Shining Force 2. But I was like, I wanted it to be a bit. I was looking for like using real instruments and not the Genesis sound chip, which they did magic with this soundtrack, by the way. Like they did crazy stuff because it doesn't sound like bleeps and bloops at all. But I just chanced upon this version, and I really liked it. And so yeah, that's how my choice happened. And then I discovered, like, while doing research on this song, is that the saxophone, like in this song, was performed by a Filipino session musician based in Japan.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, Jake Concepcion, but he passed away in 2017. But yeah, it's cool. I just found it so cool that Filipino was involved in making this in a song. And yeah, I just really like this song. Like, it's so good. It's so cheery, and like with all some of the songs that we brought being so moody, maybe this is like a nice release, I guess, from that.
Yeah, I think it's such a great bookend. Like, even though the tone is very different, I think it provides kind of a nice frame between your opening and this.
Ooh.
I like it a lot, and I definitely love the idea of a curtain call. I think I like that better than what I was picturing, which was very much kind of oh hey, now the neighborhood is safe, kind of like maybe revisiting some places, or like back to the routine after the case was closed.
Did you look at my notes?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I did not.
Or maybe yours, Lucas.
But
Oh yeah, that was definitely right on what I was thinking too.
Yep.
I mean, I was even thinking like a step further. Once I was thinking about the title with our theme is almost this like this detective starting out as kind of a loner who's like an outsider to the town, and now he is being welcomed by this community that had held him at arm's length before.
Yep.
I love that. Yes.
100%. That was definitely an element of the picture I was thinking too, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I love, musically speaking, like, I'm really glad you mentioned some of the specific artist, Gio, because I definitely had some notes about the solos and like what might even be a little bit of improvisation in this. It was really well done and really fun.
Yeah, I was surprised by like how hard they went with the saxophone solo and the violins and stuff. Really good.
So I actually had a specific thing that I noticed here, which is some of that musicality also involved some arpeggios.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which is, or can be, a callback to the arpeggios we've had in those Final Fantasy ones.
Yeah.
From earlier, that were. But it's not it's not just the Final Fantasy prelude, but it's close enough that it still kind of felt like it has that vibe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it felt like it could be...
For it to be a leitmotif.
Yeah, it felt like it could be a way to revisit. And it's funny because the specific things we picked that have those arpeggios are map. So direct tie into the town or the setting of our game, and the dungeon, which also could be a direct tie into our setting. So they're setting related, which really works now that I think about it.
Well, I actually like Gio's intent behind this better than what I noted, but I'm going to note it because obviously the other three of us had a sort of similar thing. I really like the idea of the detective that is now embraced by the town. I think in my head I was still thinking of, as I mentioned at the top of the show, Angela Lansbury. So I was thinking a Murder She Wrote thing. So okay, now everything is wrapped up. The lettuce thieves have to go work on the farm to make up their no one's in jail, nothing really bad happened. It's fine, you're fine. And now this is what's playing over the closing credits as our detective is leaving town. Everyone's all happy, everyone's waving goodbye.
My cabbages, freeze frame.
Yeah, and yes, you get the freeze frame as it's doing the closing credits for each of the people as the detective drives off into the sunset until they're needed again. And I was happy with that, and I like Lucas's thing, and I like Hilary's thing, but I was completely not expecting Gio for you to be like, just kidding, it was all a play. I love that so much. You caught me so off guard with that, as if it was an actual plot twist in a game I actually played. That was a lot of fun.
Everybody was just watching a detective show.
Yeah. Like at the end, the camera just kind of pans out, and you're like, hey, this was on a stage the whole time.
Yeah, and you can have a curtain call. I realize that it's just a play was the intent, but you can still have that curtain call and have each character kind of get their moment without it being literal, curtain call. There's plenty of games that do kind of the what are they doing now kind of vibe, where you get that cutaway to each of the different people that you had encountered. And I mean, it's still kind of the same vibe as the curtain call.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That's the intent. Yeah. I was very much picturing the Link to the Past style, during the credit sequence, where he goes around to the different people that he met in Hyrule. Mm-hmm. You see his uncle and all that stuff.
Yeah. And everyone's waving. Just like in my notes. Maybe I was thinking of that one too. All right. Well, I think once again we built a very interesting game musically. So now someone just needs to make it happen, and then someone will have to. Who should review this one at the site?
Oh, that's a fun question.
This feels like it could be an Audra game.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe
alternatively, yeah. I don't know. Sorry, I just said alternatively. I don't have alternatives.
I was kind of picturing Abe.
Oh yeah.
Abe could do it.
Abe's reviewed a wide variety of things.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe Neil. Maybe Neil for the musical aspect too.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of them could do the PC version, and one of them could do the console release.
Oh yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, there obviously would be no conflict of interest having an RPG fan reviewer reviewing an RPG fan made game, right?
Nope. Not at all.
Until they're like, yeah, I'll give it a 79. Wasn't bad. Not sure what was going on with the music.
Kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Ariana Grande came out of nowhere.
The title screen sounded like a town, and the town sounded like a battle. I don't know what was going on.
Yeah, they just go through and accurately describe the original spot of all of these.
They would try. Like I said, if you didn't know, you'd be hard pressed to know.
Honestly,
for some of these.
I think if there's one overarching takeaway from this episode, it's that you would not know. You would not know the difference.
Like the Harvest Moon, Cosmic Star Heroine especially are really wow. Or you could have convinced me they were what we use them for today for sure. So, all right. That was fun. And of course we figured out our third version of the show too, which is really exciting.
Yay.
Actually, I don't know if that was actually in the part of the episode that will air, but if it wasn't, yes, we're probably going to do another one of these at some point. So
I think this is one of those instances, and I'm just going to throw this out there. We don't have to have an answer right now.
Yeah.
But I think this is one of those instances, if the four of us are doing a specific type of episode together over and over, or now maybe 3 times, we need a name for our group.
Oh, okay.
My.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Okay, I guess we'll have to think about that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I guess we'll get back to normal outro stuff today. So today's episode featured the debuts of 2 games on Rhythm Encounter. This was the first time we had music from Harvest Moon 64 and Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. So thank you, Lucas and Hilary. Coming up next on Rhythm Encounter in a couple weeks, we are doing our Music of the Year episode for 2024. We will also have a written feature on RPG Fan. At this point, I think the podcast is going to come first, but we are going to do a written feature to pair with that podcast as well. So many games came out last year, and so many good ones. So I've seen some of the music people have picked, and it's, of course, going to be a great episode. So look for Music of the Year in a couple weeks. We have another episode planned after that, but it depends on the schedule of a guest. So I'm not going to announce that yet, just in case something happens. What I can say is soon after that, we are doing an episode about Xenoblade Chronicles X. That'll more or less coincide with the release of the definitive version. We may have featured a lot of that game's music on the show, in no small part because of me, who keeps wanting to bring it on. But I think we should do an episode about it. Seems like a good time. Yeah, if you have any thoughts on this episode or other topics, or if you want to build your own RPG musically and let us know what you came up with, you can reach us and me at music@rpgfan.com. And if people want to reach each of you, what is the best way for you, Gio?
You can email me at gio@rpgfan.com, or you can find me on Discord, on the RPG Fan Discord server. I am Tenbistar, TENBISTAR.
All right. And how about you, Lucas?
For some reason, you can still find me at every social media platform as Rafegal, RAEFGALL. And you can also find me on my YouTube channel where I do Let's Plays.
And Hilary.
Nice. Best way to contact me is hilary@rpgfan.com.
Cool. Of course, Rhythm Encounter is not the only podcast on the RPG Fan Podcast Network. We have Random Encounter every other Monday, opposite of us, and Retro Encounter every other Thursday. Retro Encounter moved to a bi-weekly schedule. You may have known, if you're a listener, that long-time showrunner Michael Solosi has stepped down. Zach Wilkerson, our features manager and also frequent Retro Encounter host, is now the showrunner of that. At the moment, when this episode goes up, they're going to be in the middle of their Final Fantasy IX game journal. I know that's one that was very highly requested from our staff, so go check out that on Retro Encounter. Over on Random Encounter, last week Random Encounter featured a couple recent games and reviews. So they were talking about Dynasty Warriors Origins and Ys Memoir, the latest remake or remaster of Oath and Felghana. You can find RPG Fan on most social media as RPGFan.com, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, Twitter. We are RPG Fan on Blue Sky. Links to all of these are in our show notes, along with links to our Twitch and our YouTube. You can find us we have a Discord server. Our website is rpgfan.com. And of course, on there, we also have our shop, rpgfan.com/shop, where you can get RPG Fan merch and our review card collection book that we built with Hyperplay RPG. So check that out. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you could review or subscribe or comment on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or wherever it is you get your podcasts. And that's it, actually. We don't really do a bonus track on these because we already did our ending theme. So again, all three of you, thank you for being here again. I'm so happy we got to revisit this topic. I think it's such a fun idea, and as long as we can keep finding new ways to do the formula, like I want to keep this going. It's just so much fun to keep doing this. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for having us.
Of course.
Thank you.
Always good to get the adventuring party together.
Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. Well, we hope you enjoyed this episode too, and we will see you in a couple weeks for Music of the Year. So thank you for listening, and we will see you then.
I knew I wasn't going to get through this episode without doing that.
You couldn't wait. You
No.
couldn't wait.
You sounded like the song there. The ooh. Like...
Oh yeah, she sings along to this one. Okay, this
I
is
do.
a favorite in our household.
I blame Derek Kingsbury.
Yeah,
He got people introduced to this song a long time ago.
Derek did really get us into this one.